Well, hello. Welcome to Answers News, Thursday, February 28th. I'm joined by Avery Foley.
Hello.
Who's fighting through even though you don't feel the best, right?
Yes, I have a bit of a cold, which last time I was on Answers News with a cold, if any of you watched that episode, did not end well because I had a coughing fit for 11 minutes and threw a rib out. So poor Bodie had to carry the show all by himself. But I've got throat lozenges and tea today, so hopefully no coughing and no thrown ribs out, hopefully.
So let's clarify, you threw out a rib
Yes.
by coughing.
Yes,
That
it was
is
very
pretty
painful
impressive.
for like 2 months. Yeah,
Wow.
it was fun.
Are you okay now?
I am fine now,
Okay.
well, except for this cold.
All right. Well, we have Avery Foley with us and Dr. Gabriella Haynes. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good, very, very good to be here. I'm also not feeling great. I don't have a cold, but I woke up 3 in the morning, couldn't go back to sleep.
So Brian, you have to carry us basically.
Yes.
is what-
I'll have
what
to
we're
carry.
saying.
We're in trouble, and I'm going to scoot this way.
No one wants to sit beside me for some reason. I don't know why.
But we also have a live studio audience, so if you guys can make yourselves known to those listening. There we
Yay.
Awesome. Glad to have you guys. Glad you're here. And we're glad you're here watching with us here on Answers News. on Thursday.
Absolutely.
We got some fluff and stuff. While we're doing that, of course, please hop online. I'm going to be on Answers in Genesis page on Facebook. Avery's going to be on Ken's page.
Yep,
And then
just
you're
waiting
on
for it to pop
YouTube,
up here.
Yes.
correct? So
YouTube.
we'll be following those, and we'll do our best to follow the comments and try to interact with those and so forth. So a little bit of fluff and stuff. What we got going on over there?
All right. Well, the first one ties in well with what we were saying,
Yeah.
especially what Gabriella was saying about being tired.
And I just forgot I'm introducing the articles because
You are
don't feel
introducing
well.
the
I'm throwing it to
articles.
Avery, so here we go. I'll come back to
I
myself.
asked you to do it so my voice doesn't go
You're
away.
like, what are you doing? No, the first article is a good one. Scientists say that starting work before 10 a.m. is similar to torture.
Yes.
Amen. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. I concur.
Is our boss watching this?
Yes, can we change company policy based on this study?
But basically what it says in the particular article is that the human body runs on a circadian rhythm, and when you get up too early and go to work too early, it throws that rhythm off. Therefore, you don't feel as rested, and you don't work as well. Your mind doesn't think as well, so forth and
Right.
so on. Which I can attest to that. I think I don't really start thinking clearly till around 11 a.m. So I think that fits just about right. Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some people say they're morning people, right? And some
Yeah.
people say they're night people.
I don't understand that at all.
I'm
Morning
neither
people.
of them. Oh, you didn't turn your
I'm going to turn my
volume
volume off, pretend you didn't hear that. There you go. All right.
Pretend that didn't happen. Yeah, I'm neither. I have like an hour where I'm like, that's my time.
You have an hour of
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
your husband must be very selective about when he approaches you with a particular idea
That one little
or
hour.
question.
Yes.
You gotta find that right time slot.
I think every mom of little children can concur with that.
Which, with this research in mind, it is interesting. I was a teacher for 13 years before joining the ministry, and my first class started at 7:15 in the morning.
That's awful.
Started at 7:15 in the morning, which was pretty rough for all parties involved, but we made it through.
Yeah, as I was telling you before the show, that's a normal time for schools in Brazil. Actually, they start at 7:10. 7:15 is just, you're already late. So,
That's
yeah,
wow.
7:10.
Yes.
So it happens, a lot of kids are just not in a good mood, you know, and even like the teachers, they have to go there and they have to like, yay, I'm in
Try
a
to
good
wake up.
mood.
Yeah, yeah.
But
You
I
had to
am
fake
not.
it really well.
Yes.
Yes, you had to
I'm
fake
not
it.
in a good mood because I woke up really early. But depends, I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes some people they work better in the morning, you know. And but I just thought it was interesting to
They
think
said
about
they said in
that.
the article people spend $40 billion a year on coffee
Yeah, to try to be
to stay awake.
alert
And I think 25 of that is at Starbucks.
yes,
Just based on the price of the coffee there.
right.
By the way, we got people hopping on from all over the place, over from Washington, Virginia, Wyoming.
Pennsylvania here.
Roger, Oklahoma, Roger from Oklahoma said he gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and has no problem whatsoever.
That's good.
Wow.
Well, that's good for you, Roger.
Yeah, yeah, that's very good. Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
And everybody, so many other people. I
Yeah,
see some of
I
our
say hi to
normals
Hannah
on
and
here.
Craig, who are two of our regulars.
Yeah,
They were on.
Jennifer.
They watch every episode. We like to see.
Somebody from Canada is watching as
Hey,
well.
hello,
Probably
fellow Canadian.
Your neighbor. Yeah, lots of people. Good stuff.
Okay,
And then
this next one, Brian.
I knew fluff and stuff at this next article. There we have a newfound catfish species that's either the ugliest or most adorable ever, according to this article. With tentacle-covered snouts that protrude from their heads and bodies covered with armor, they look more mythical than real. And
Okay, so
yeah.
ugliest or super adorable? You can see the picture. That is ugly. This is super adorable.
Yes, that is super
Yes.
adorable.
Ugly, super adorable.
Yes.
It's not hard.
There may be a bias in there, but I agree. That
Not
is
at
correct.
all.
My-
These are just two random children I happen to see a picture of.
Right.
Okay, now it's my
Off
kids.
the internet, right?
Like,
Yeah.
my husband is cute. This, it's not cute. No.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with ugly as well. I don't think those fish are cute at all.
Nope.
They're found in the Amazon, ever close to Venezuela. I guess they're going extinct as well, so we should watch out for them. But they're just ugly. More power to them.
Yes.
Poor things.
And then moving on, we have some other
This
good
one,
fluff and stuff.
Gabriella.
Yeah.
Yay! Today is a very special day. It's my mom's birthday, and I just would like to say, she's in Brazil, so I just would like to say happy birthday and thank her for everything she has done for me and everything I am today. It's because of you. The bad part is because I was a little bit stubborn, but the good part, it was because of you. Yes.
Because you're a sinner by nature, by choice,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah,
I'm
there
a
you go.
sinner. I'm a sinner. So that's why. So happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, her mom.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
Someone in the comments said, your team should upload these segments as podcasts. Would love to listen in later. All of the episodes are archived on YouTube, so you can go onto
Oh, yeah.
YouTube and watch any episode you like over there. So that's a great way to, if you miss it live, to go and take a look.
By the way, somebody commented on here about those catfish we just saw.
Yeah.
They say those catfish look like swimming dill pickles,
Ew.
which I think was about right. Yeah. For the audience is with me. Yeah. Yes, our audience agrees. Good job, person on here.
And our last piece of fluff before we jump into the articles. This one, you sent me this picture,
I
Brian.
sent you that picture. That is a picture of my suitcase. The reason I took a picture of that is I just came back from Minnesota. Northern Minnesota. I saw your relatives on their side of the border. I waved at them. They're doing good. by
That's
the way.
good.
And
Glad
it was
to know.
really cold, by the way. Negative 14 degrees.
It was
when I
cold in
left.
Minnesota? What?
No, but the people were warm. Cold weather, warm people.
That's nice.
That was nice. But the day I took off to go to Minnesota, I got to the airport at 9 o'clock in the morning. Got to my hotel in Minnesota at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Through multiple delays, changed flights, and then my luggage did not make it. My luggage showed up 2 days later. And it's just a good example of a fallen, cursed, broken world. And I've been so glad to see my luggage in my entire life. So there it is. Just
The
throwing
good
that
thing
out
you
there.
didn't have to pack back to go home, right?
That's true. It was already-
It's true.
It
You
was
just
ready.
grab
That
your
was true.
suitcase and go.
It was ready.
It's a good point. The cup is half full. All right, very good.
All right, we'll jump into our actual serious articles here.
Yes, first article. So, life quickly finds a way, the surprising swift end of evolution's Big Bang. And so this particular article is talking about the Cambrian explosion that supposedly happened around 500 million years ago. It's often called biology's Big Bang. And basically what it is, if you look in the fossil record, the Cambrian rock layer is towards the very bottom. And it's at that point that it seems that all life just explodes on the scene. And basically all the major body types, the phylotypes, appear in the fossil record immediately fully formed.
With no ancestors in the previous
With
rocks.
no ancestors leading up to that, which is a huge problem for evolutionists. That's why they call it the Big Bang for biology. So they're trying to deal with this and get more details about the Cambrian explosion as they study the details of the Cambrian rock layers.
Yeah, the Cambrian explosion actually marked the beginning of the global flood.
Yep.
So one of the reasons that the evolutionists, they say that we cannot find any other fossils is just because the layers are not very good for to preserve those
Sure.
fossils.
Yeah.
So it's just very convenient.
And if you want to really kind of picture the problem for evolutionists in regards to the Cambrian rock layer and the Cambrian explosion, you picture the evolutionary tree of life, right? The common ancestor, the trunk, and then all the branches that come after that. And then the leaves on the branches, all the species we see today. Well, what you have in the Cambrian rock layer is basically all the major branches already formed with no branches leading up to those branches. It's just they're
Complete.
already there in place. There's literally no major trunk and no major branches, just all the minor branches right here already fully formed.
Yeah, those branches, they're just pictures. They have nothing to do with science. They have nothing to do with the evidence. They're just the picture.
It's the worldview interpretation.
Yeah, the worldview interpretation of what happened.
So this article is suggesting that animals only took about 20 million years to fill all the empty ecological niches on the entire planet. So they're saying all the major life forms, including jellyfish and coral, segmented worms, mollusks, arthropods, and vertebrates, evolved in 20 million years, which is 0.5% of Earth's supposed history.
Yeah, the point is, they also say here that evolutionary rates are usually hard to calculate. So if the rates are hard to calculate, how can you know how long the process took?
Right.
It just, you cannot do that because you don't have the rates.
Well, it's interesting, they point out too in the article, and this is important to understand, they said these rates of evolution are hard to calculate because we don't find enough fossils. Fossils don't tend to form because carcasses tend to degrade pretty quickly or get eaten by scavengers. So things don't tend to fossilize on their own. If you want to fossilize something, you got to bury it deeply and quickly to protect it from scavengers and decomposition, which usually requires a catastrophic process, like a flood.
Like a flood,
right?
Yes.
But it's funny, they say it's a problem because we can't find these intermediates because fossilization doesn't happen very often. But then they go on to say, although fossilization is rare, there are certainly rare instances where an evolving population is preserved across successively younger deposits, providing irrefutable evidence of evolution in action. But they give none of those examples. They just make the statement and leave it there. And this is something we encourage people all the time. As you are reading these sorts of articles, be sure to put on your biblical worldview. I might call it think fast. That's an acronym, think fast. The F stands for facts. Identify the actual facts. What are the tangible things we're observing in the present? And then the A, what are the assumptions they're interpreting the facts with? What worldview are they starting with to interpret the present day evidence? And then the S is seek the biblical explanation, seek the biblical worldview. How do we understand this from a biblical perspective? And then the T is tell somebody the right answer, right? And so think fast as you engage these things because truly, the reason their conclusions are so wrong about the age and when all this happened is they're starting with the wrong assumptions as they interpret the present day evidence.
Yeah, another point that they use as a method is like a statistical program.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And it's very interesting that they say that these programs fully account for the uncertainty generated by missing data. The problem is the program is going to account for something that doesn't exist because the data is missing.
Well, it's a statistical program, right? It runs statistics, which statistics are fickle. They will sing any song you want to hear.
Because it's a human putting in the parameters.
So
yeah, exactly.
Because they also say that the program is going to infer some probable answers. I wonder if one of those probable answers got created. Of course not.
There's a global flood,
Probably
right? Yeah.
not, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
right?
exactly
Because it's the worldview. When they're programming those softwares, they're just using the worldview, they're adding the information of the worldview in those programs. That's why they're never going to find anything that is going to agree with the Bible.
And I think just a couple other quick things before we wrap up this article. Don't want to spend too long on it, but the bottom line at the end of the article, they basically say this: we're not sure how evolution did it, but then they quote Jurassic Park, life found a way. Somehow nature did it in a way we can't fully comprehend.
Right.
They appeal to their natural God instead of the biblical God. And by the way, how can life adapt to different environments? It needs genetic information to produce multiple variations to adapt, right?
Yeah.
But to have genetic information, there are multiple laws in science that say information always comes from a mind.
Right.
How do you get the information in living things from non-living matter if you believe in evolution? It's a huge scientific problem, and they really can't explain it. But life found a way, and at the very end it says this: today, as humans transform and stress our planet, we are facing another mass extinction called climate change. And so you see their moral push. This is really their agenda to do something about this so-called climate change. And we see that's kind of a trend in a lot of these articles.
Yeah.
By the way, I wanted to say this. I agree with Roger, who says on our chat here that catfish look better breaded and with cornbread. And amen, brother. Preach on. And Jennifer said here she loves their accents. I think Are you talking about the Minnesotians, or are you talking about our accents? Because they're all kind of different between the three of us. So I was
Yeah.
kind of wondering about that.
Canadian, American,
Yeah,
Brazilian.
Southern, yeah, it's a little different.
Yes,
And then, yeah,
Southern.
Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Did you
Yep.
draw out your O's too, Minnesota? Is that the same thing, Canada?
No.
No?
See, whenever
Okay.
Americans try and copy the Canadian accent, it's wrong every
I can't do
time.
accents anyway. Yeah, that may just be me. It may not be Americans in general. But
No,
anyway.
no, it's just anyone who always is
Anybody-
like,
make me feel better. It's not just
a
me.
boot? No, that's not how you say it.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about orangutans because that's always
Sure.
fun.
Hey,
Right? Yeah.
they're interesting looking.
They are, absolutely. According to Science Daily, orangutans make complex economic decisions about tool use, which sounds really impressive from the title. And essentially what the article is about is how they tested orangutans to see which food they would prefer versus apples versus bananas in given scenarios. So sometimes the bananas were in a particular contraption where they had to use a tool to get to the banana, but the apples were right there readily available. So which would they go for? The apples that are easy to get?
And they
or
liked the bananas better.
Yeah, or the
They
bananas
all
they
like
prefer
those
where
better.
They used the tool, and they did multiple tests on this. And they found some pretty interesting results from the study.
Yeah.
Right?
They would usually go for the tool instead of just picking the apples. They would, no, I want the bananas, and they
Yeah.
would use the tool to get the bananas, which is cool.
Yeah,
It
but
is-
other animals do that too, right?
Correct.
Also, what's the name again, Brian here?
Cockatoos.
Cockatoos.
Yeah, that's a
Yes,
funny
the
word.
cockatoos do the same thing. And a lot of animals, like cats, they're very smart. They're intelligent. If you have a cat, you know what I mean. It's just animals are intelligent.
I thought cats were evil.
That's what can.
Oh,
Our chat channel might blow up now.
We,
Sorry.
when my husband and I first got married,
Yeah.
on our honeymoon, I was like, let's get a kitten. And my husband was like, you don't like cats, honey. I'm like, no, kittens are so cute. Let's get kittens. And he's like,
But they grow in.
okay, you
They
can
grow
get
into it,
kittens. So we
yeah.
got kittens, and we had them for about a week. And then we gave them to someone else. And after 3.5 years of marriage, my husband still says that was the biggest mistake we've ever made, was getting those kittens. We both realized really quick, we don't like cats. We are not cat people.
Oh, that's funny. Why didn't you get a puppy?
Because
Puppies
I'm
are
not a
much
dog
cuter.
person either. Really, I'm just a baby person. So I just
good.
have 2
Okay.
babies now
Yeah,
instead.
yeah.
That's very good. Yeah.
By the way, we said this before, but multiple animals use tools in very complex ways. Otters, elephants, rodents, dolphins, crows, woodpeckers, octopuses all use tools in very unique ways. It's not
Yes.
that weird to see the orangutan doing that. And the cockatoos imitated the orangutan in a similar fashion.
And you see the evolutionary bias in the article. Like,
Yeah.
orangutans share 97% of their DNA with us. No, they don't.
Yeah,
That's,
well,
that's
they-
not true. It's only if you compare certain sections
right.
of the DNA and leave a bunch of them out. And
Right.
it's people say that all the time, particularly with chimps, not usually with orangutans, but
Yeah.
it's
One thing
simply not
that
accurate.
It's just
it
wrong,
needs
yeah.
to be very we need to be very careful. It's not what the result of the paper, the research. We need to be careful with the method, how they got that result,
Sure.
because you can get any result depending on the method that
Sure.
you use. So, for example, I can say here, we 3 here, I can say like 1/3 of the people in the museum is Brazilian.
Or pregnant.
Yes, I am the pregnant and the Brazilian. So, you know,
Brazilian and pregnant.
yes.
Look at that.
So depending on the method
Based
that
on
you're
your
gonna
sample
use,
size. Yeah.
you're gonna get any result.
Right.
That's
Sure.
why they get 97%, because they're just using a tiny fraction of the material to compare.
And by the way, also, it's interesting to point out, as they compare the cockatoos with the orangutans, they got similar results. And from this data, here's what they concluded. So they concluded that the fact that the orangutan can use a tool shows it's close to us. It's close to our relative. It shows a human-like
Right,
flair
yeah,
of some
yeah.
sort. But with the cockatoo, they said this, the fact that cockatoo would use a tool in a similar fashion, they said this suggests that similar cognitive abilities can evolve independently in distantly related species. So these abilities either prove you're closely related or not closely related.
Can prove anything.
And
It can
just
prove
evolution explains
anything.
everything
Yes.
and anything.
And that's why we say so often, this evolutionary thinking, it's a subset of the religion of naturalism. It's a worldview. That's why I can explain everything, because they interpret everything through that particular lens. We got to keep that in mind. By the way, somebody on here said, how can something, referring to the last article, How Life Found a Way, how can something that doesn't have a brain find a way?
Yeah, that's called
Yeah.
reification fallacy. It sounds logic, but it's not logic at all. because life, it's a concept, it's not an entity, it's not a person. So life is just a concept. The same way they use evolution, evolution led to that, evolution did that. Evolution doesn't do anything. Evolution is just a concept. This is called the reification fallacy.
It's where you try to give personal characteristics or lifelike characteristics to an inanimate object,
Right.
And we see that a lot with evolution or science. By the way, someone is saying on here, poor Brian, he's been indoctrinated by Ken Ham's religion that says cats are evil.
Yeah.
Maybe true. All right. Just a little bit. All right, moving on. We have a Canadian preacher who doesn't believe in God. And we've talked about the Reverend Greta Vosper before over in Canada. What's wrong with you Canadians?
I'm not going to answer that. We're always having news items from Canada, and they're always like,
I'm like poking
what am I
over
reading?
here, you're not feeling well.
I think people specifically pick Canadian items, and the worst ones they can find just because of poor me on this show. But
no, so
everyone's always picking on the Canadians.
This one lone Canadian who's not like the others. But she is a preacher, self-proclaimed preacher of the United Church of Canada, I believe it is, and she does not believe in God. She doesn't believe Jesus is the Son of God, does not believe in God at all.
She's an atheist.
She's an atheist.
She's an outspoken atheist, and she's a preacher in...
There was kind of like, they were calling it a heresy trial of
Right.
whether or not she should be defrocked, and then they ended up just kind of being like, no, we're not going to go through with that. She can still continue preaching. So she still has her church, and she's still preaching there.
What?
And well, you find out. That's why this article goes on to talk about what it is she preaches, because she just has this concept of like God is this like just like love, right?
Yes.
Like no kind of like God is an actual being. It's just like this love thing. So at her church, she talks about this metaphorical view of God, and they have, instead of like the Lord's Prayer, they recite words of commitment that she wrote with her third husband. And they also sing humanist hymns that she and her husband wrote together about peace and love. And
so notice they're following what she wrote as well as what her third husband wrote. They're singing the hymns that she wrote. So whose words are they following? They're following hers.
Yeah.
Instead of God's.
It's just another form of humanism. It isn't a church anymore. It's a temple of humanism, and basically just a club.
Well, we were talking before. The United Church of Canada is very, very liberal for a long time.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh,
so
yes. Absolutely.
Years and years ago, they were big movers and shakers in the secular social justice movement. Still so today. They ordained their first transgender pastor, I believe. They were pushing for abortion and homosexuality. So they weren't a church by any real stretch of the definition, at least not a biblical church for a very long time. So it's not so weird. But it's interesting. One of the people in the congregation was frustrated that she was kept as a pastor in their church, and he said, "Won't this church stand for anything?" And evidently not. And you may have heard this saying, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And I think we could actually reword that just a little bit to something along the lines of, if you don't stand for all biblical truth, you may fall for any heresy.
Yes.
And we see that happening so much in the Western culture at large because we've given away chunks of biblical authority. We're seeing the collapse of the Christian worldview, both outside and even inside the church in many places as a result. So
someone here is saying on YouTube, she's making her own religion, and that's
Exactly
that's
right.
Exactly it.
Yeah.
She is the person that wants to be the God there.
I thought it was interesting that she says, "This is my church. The United Church made me who I am." Being an atheist. And she talks about how growing up as a kid, she just kind of, thought of God as this love concept. And then when she, later on in her life, she went to divinity school, and that cemented her metaphorical view of God, she says. It was interesting how, obviously, she went to a school that did not take a stand on God's word, that did not teach biblical truth, and it just continued to lead her down the path of unbelief, the path of doubt, the path of wrong thinking. And so it's a reminder to Christians to be aware of, just because a school is a divinity school or a theological seminary or a Christian school, a Christian university or college, does not mean they actually believe what the Bible teaches. They're going to teach their students to stand on the authority of God's word and teach them a biblical view of God and humanity and history and everything. So just be very aware of that.
It's sad because not only church made her who she is now, but a lot of seminaries, colleges, they're making the creating atheists.
Yeah, because they
That's what they're
compromised on the
doing,
truth of God's word.
because they start compromising God's word. For example, this church on 60s, the United Church, it was the first church to ordain transgender, as Brian was saying, supporting abortion, same-sex union. So they walked away from God's word. Guess what they are? Atheists.
When we get to the point where the church can't even tell an atheist, no, you can't preach in this church,
Right.
because they're so committed to diversity.
And a little side note here, when she makes the statement, this is my church, no, it's not. Ultimately,
supposed to be
it's God's church.
church.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And the church made me who I am? No, it didn't. God did, and we're accountable to that God who made us and to how we work with his church that he made. And that's an important thing to keep in mind as we talk about these particular issues. Yeah, lots of stuff there. People still popping on. Actually, someone named Marla Osborne just popped on. I know her. And glad you guys are watching with us. Moving on, we're going to talk about the Interstellar Oumuamua.
Oh, you missed one, Brian.
Did I miss one?
You
I skip
did. That's
ahead?
the next one.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. I just wanted to skip this. I didn't want to talk about it. So in this next article, mother and father replaced with parent 1 and parent 2 in French schools under same-sex amendment. So basically what's happened here in France is they're trying to get in line with the European law of 2013 about same-sex marriage. So instead of calling parents mother and father in their documentation, they'll call them parent 1 and parent 2.
Who's 1, who's 2?
I'm going to assume whoever's more diverse in their background, the more oppressed peoples, female or whether it's a different minority or something like that, they'll be labeled 1. Yeah, due to intersectionality. I bet that's.
But they don't know that when
Intersectionality is a
they
big
don't know
deal
that
now.
when you put as 1, the responsibility of that minority now it's higher, right?
Who knows?
Sure.
You know,
It's just
and then it just
Don't worry, they'll make it up as they go along. That's
Yes.
what's happening.
Yes.
as we go
Yes, they're
through
gonna keep
this.
changing.
this whole idea of just attacking the family and
It really is.
of a mother and father and
Right.
and their kids. It's
Well, if you can
crazy.
redefine the family, you can redefine morality, you can redefine
Yep.
the worldview of a culture, which is what's happening throughout the West,
Everything.
including
Absolutely.
America. And by the way, not to be Debbie Downer on this, but truly, if you're going to say parent 1 and parent 2, how long is it before you say parent 3, parent 4, parent 5, parent 6?
10.
right. Yeah.
Why not have polygamy, polyamory, or
We have
something
seen
like
already
Which is
that
what
happening.
we're seeing a rise of.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
yeah.
so we're seeing the consequences of that in the culture at large.
Yeah, we've already seen, we talked about an item from Canada back a while ago about how they're the first child to have officially 3 parents
Right.
because
Legally,
of a
right?
polyamorous couple. Yeah, so it's the next thing that's coming.
Now, moving on from that depressing news, we got the Interstellar Oumuamua. This is a asteroid of some sort or some sort of interstellar body.
No, it's an alien probe.
Well, let me get there first, all right? It might be, due to new observations, a fractal snowflake, not an alien probe.
Oh, bummer.
Which alien probe would be a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Although fractal snowflake sounds pretty cool as well. But basically, this is an astronomical body of some sort that's kind of going by. It's got some unique features. It seems to be accelerating as it's going by, which is weird.
Very weird, yeah.
Which is why the Harvard professor still thinks, he's doubled down, this is an alien probe of some
Yeah, we've
sort.
talked about this several times in the
Yeah,
show
this-
before, because this Harvard professor keeps saying, no, it's an alien probe, and other people are coming up with all kinds of different, well, it could be this, could be that. Nobody seems to be able to agree, because they didn't get a good look at it when it came through, so.
Which
they're
is
like,
which is
"What
funny
is
because
it?"
if you didn't get a very good look at that thing, how do you know what it is?
Right.
That's
You
the
haven't
trouble.
even- you didn't even see it.
That's a good
Yeah.
point. Which shows, again, the nature of the worldview you're using. You're trying to make a guess as you look at it in the present.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this new suggestion is perhaps it's made of some kind of icy porous material. So it has a
Like a
super
snowflake.
low density
Yeah.
and it has like a fractal structure, which you usually see at like on a very small level, but maybe it's a giant fractal structure. So, and other people disagree, so it's still up in the air what it is.
The bottom line, the article ends like this. It says, unfortunately, we can never be sure about Oumuamua's true nature because the asteroid is now too far away for astronomers to observe.
So they'll just keep arguing about what it might
So
be.
now we'll never know, which is the ultimate cliffhanger.
Yes.
By the way, someone notes on here on the chat that someone just traveled to a foreign country on their visa application with their family, with their son. They were identified as parent 1 and parent 2 on their visa.
Really?
Doesn't say which
Interesting.
country, but it does say they had a foreign travel visa. Parent 1, parent 2, not mother, father. So
Interesting.
maybe more widespread than we thought.
Yeah.
And then continuing the astronomy theme, solar flare 10 billion times more powerful than Earth's sun and blasted out of Orion's sword, which is pretty neat. That's what we were saying. It's just
Yeah,
pretty
it's
cool
a
phenomenon.
really, really powerful solar flare.
So this star, some 1,500 light years away from the Earth, gave out this solar
Thankfully,
flare.
it's far away.
Really far away. The most luminous thing we've seen a star of this so-called age do. And scientists they're kind of excited about it because from a secular scientific perspective, they think this will help them understand star formation. And that's something a lot of people don't recognize, that star formation for the secular scientists is a huge mystery and a huge problem. They cannot explain it through natural phenomenon. So there's a lot of educated guesses on their end, but it's all soaked in their worldview, and you see tons of problems with it. But you had some stuff
Yeah,
on that.
the whole process of star formation in the evolutionary worldview has to take millions of years. So for example, the sun. The sun would take 20 to 30 million, it took 20 to 30 millions to form. And then they say, oh, now we can see star forming. They haven't been observing the universe for 20, 10, or any millions of years. So how they can see that star forming? Because they haven't observed anything.
Right.
There's no evidence for that. So the point is, they keep saying that the stars they can see star formation, but they cannot see that. What they see is just like something's happening,
Right.
and they put them together in a way that fits their worldview.
But what they actually observed, they observed the nebula, the gas and dust cloud. You see
Yeah.
the cloud. There's no doubt about that.
They're beautiful.
And you see points of light through the cloud. But we don't know what those points of lights are doing. We don't know if
Yes.
that's on the other side of the cloud, in the cloud, if something's actually forming, or we just see something through the cloud. So what we observe is the cloud and points of light. That's it. Then you must interpret that through your worldview
Worldview.
lens. And again, that's where their conclusions get off base so often. But it is interesting to see the power of
Yeah.
this solar flare.
Yeah.
Just blowing away the power of our sun. It just reminds us of God's power.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
literally nothing to God. It shows how awesome He is.
It also reminded me about how when they're looking for life out in outer space, they're always talking about, well, you have to have an Earth that's just the right size, and it's got to be able to have liquid water and all this. Another thing they've been that I've seen pointed out a couple of times is not only do you have to have it orbiting the right distance from a star, it has to be the right kind of star. Because if you have a
Sure.
star like this one that sends off massive solar flares, life is toast. Burnt toast.
No pun intended.
Yeah. So you have to have, there's so many parameters to make life possible. It should be obvious that God created life and He gave us just the
Absolutely.
right sun and just the right
We're in
distance
the
and just the right
Goldilocks
size of planet. Yeah,
area.
just the right atmosphere, just the right composition of the earth, everything that we need for life to
Absolutely.
flourish here. So I think we're out of time,
Do you want to
Brian.
do one more or no? Run
Do we
out?
have
Okay, we'll
time?
save
Yeah.
this for Monday then.
Yeah, it's kind of a downer to
Kinda
end on, so we'll
glad
stick with the
not-
happy
we'll
one.
stick with the happy
Yes.
one.
So
Monday, we'll be back at 2 o'clock Eastern time. Is it the next gen team, Monday?
I think so.
I think
You'll
it
find
is.
out on Monday.
Yes.
a surprise,
I don't think I'll be here on Monday. It's going to be another day, I think. Yep.
By the way, Becky from Minnesota just signed on. So you're a little late, but hey, Becky, I just thought I'd wave at you as you signed on at the very end from Minnesota. So we're glad you're here. Hope you guys have a good week. God bless you. Live to an audience of one, and we'll see you on Monday.
God bless you.
Bye, guys.